All right. I think I'm live. I appear to now be live. Okay. Hello, viewers. I'm going to try live streaming a flight today. This is my first time live streaming with OBS, so hopefully that's not a problem. Give me 1 second here. So I'm first going to share the stream with some friends, and I want to make sure I have the wrong link. Excuse me, I want to make sure, there we go, that I have the right link here. So give me one moment here. I want to make okay. I don't really have a way to pause this, so just gonna have to give me a second here. Let's see if I can pull it up this way again. There we go. I'm going to bring, sorry for bumping the mic, I'm going to bring this up on my phone just so I can keep track of the live chat on a screen separate from my PC so that I don't start echoing a screen separate from recording the audio or streaming the audio off my PC. Okay, here we go. 4,500. And it looks like I'm already running into problems with the stream bitrate. Give me 1 second here. Can I change the setting on the fly? Yes, I can. I think. I'm not sure. I'm going to stop the stream and start it back up. 1 second. Okay. I believe I should still be fine. Yes. Okay, we're good. Okay. So what I'm doing is let me see if any of my friends are around to watch. Okay, so for those catching the VOD, I am at Doylestown Airport. This is the tie-down area, and I'm going to be taking a Cessna 172P. And if we're looking at YouTube right now. Whoops. Hey, here we go. So I am going to be flying to Okay, I have too many air nav things open. And I'm going to refresh this for weather data to Taunton or whatever it's called. Yeah, Taunton. So it's a small airport. I'm going to land after it's no longer being attended. I'm taking off from where I'm starting after this airport is no longer attended. I'm not sure how realistic that is, but it does have lighting, so we're going to make that work. Okay, so we get started here. Now, I'm using FlightGear. I have flown only once in real life. I'm going to try and replicate the field of view I had, or the angle of my view that I had in that, and that is more like this. So it's kind of jarring, you know, if you're used to just driving a car, you're not used to flying a plane. You just see over your dash, and you don't really see it unless you intentionally look at it. In an airplane, maybe it's just because I'm coming from a sim, but you don't really see outside unless you intentionally look for outside. So that's how I'm going to have my camera set up right now. All right, let me get situated here. So the first thing I need to do is do some flight planning stuff, and I'm in SkyVector. Now the nice thing here is SkyVector will actually suggest me a route. This is going to be under 2 hours. Now, it does take me through Class Bravo airspace, and I'm a little uncertain about that, but I'm just going to go with it because I don't really have a lot of time to get this done during daytime. So it's going to add a little more time if I change the route up. Actually, you know what? I can do it this way. This way to avoid the Class Bravo. We're just going to do that. It's not going to add that much time. Then I can also get a navlog. So this will be a nice, that first fix isn't supposed to be there. Oh, never mind. You know what? We'll go with it. Yeah, you know what? We'll go with it. Okay. Which means I get to do even more exciting navigation stuff, because that means I need to triangulate. So this here, can I? No. Yes, I can do that actually. Okay. I think. No, not the way I would like to. Yes, okay. So I can connect to the Brandywine VOR on radial, what is this airway? 056. It goes straight through there and hits Biggie at a certain distance. I'm not sure what. And then Biggie intersects. I mean, I also have, you know, this VOR here at Solberg, but the Sparta VOR that I can use as, oh, I don't want to do that. Okay, cool. So I have a few options here. Cool. All right, let's get the engine started up, get things started here. So first thing I want to do is I actually want to make sure I have fuel. I'm not going to do a full pre-flight. You know, we're not doing everything 100% by the book here. But, yeah. Okay. Now there is a weather service that I could dial the comm radio to and check the weather, but for some reason the last time I used it, it didn't work. So I'm just going to use the menu here to set up the altimeter. Okay. And oh right. You know, I can just use air nav. So come into air nav. Hopefully you can all hear me fine. Sorry for the mic opting against the joystick. Check the chat. No one's around. Great. Okay, let's get the radio set up. Oh wait, first off, active runway. We have winds at 270 at 5, so we're going to use runway, the westbound runway. I don't remember which one it is. It's 232530. No, it's 22. Wait a minute, this isn't the right airport. Runway 23, yeah, that's what it was. Boom. Runway 23. And for runway 23... let me double check the weather here. Refresh. Winds are calm. So that means we're actually going to use runway 5 because according to the remarks here, runway 5 is used for crosswind and calm wind. So... that should be interesting. Okay. Now back into SkyVector. So I need to set up on Brandywine. And that has... or Modena. Modena VOR 113.2. 113.2. And right now that's out of range, and probably because I'm not in the air yet. So hopefully this fix soon. And then here 056, do that first fix biggie. 056. So I need to do this. And hopefully I'm not having reception issues just because of distance. Hopefully when I get in the air I will have reception, because otherwise we're going to have problems. And then we're nav 2. We have actually this Solberg 237. Okay, yeah, that'll work. Solberg. And you can see 112.9er. And radio is 237, but I need the reciprocal. So subtract 180. So I'm messing with the wrong one. So 057. There we go. So these two will both line up when I am at the first waypoint. Then I'm going to need to switch radio frequencies to go to the Sparta VOR 115.7. Okay. So that out of the way, we are ready to begin our flight. Got it. There we go. Disengage parking brake. There we go. And real quick here, I actually okay, we're good. That should be, yeah, that's just a center exit. Good. So, as you can see, as you probably noticed, anyway, I should say, that is... Okay, we got some weird geometry for the ground here. But I do not have analog brakes. I'm using my trigger for the brakes, so, imagine slamming on the brakes, just standing on them every time I'm braking. That's why, brakes are so harsh here. So we see nothing coming in from either end. Normally here you would do the run up, checking, making sure that both magnetos are functioning correctly. Yeah. Words are being difficult for me right now. Okay. Let's begin our takeoff roll. Plane's wandering around. There's a lot of torque in this model. It's not quite right. Make sure we clear those trees. It's gonna be close. Yep, there we go. Alright, we are getting reception from Brandywine. So, it's very nice. Okay. It's convenient. We're just going to go straight out here. I'm going to do a gentle right turn. to try and make sure I remain aligned on this radio of the VOR. And remember how my joystick trim settings work. I believe I'm trimming in the wrong direction. Hang on, I'll get it figured out in a moment. Alright, well actually I want to pick up speed now. Without stopping the climb. So come on, keep climbing. So what we're looking for now is for these two lines to become straight. And once those two lines are straight, then I know I will have reached the waypoint. Because that waypoint sits on both of those radials. A little bit more airspeed. Going to be climbing to 7,000 feet. There we go, that's the climb taken care of. I'm just going to use the keyboard to gentle left-right corrections here. I know that probably looks very silly with a joystick sitting on my lap. But it's a bit more precise. I also know that the waypoint I'm going to is 10 miles from where I started. Alright, I do want to get this climb stabilized. That's the opposite of what I want. I'll have my joystick settings figured out eventually. I don't really do this very often in case that wasn't already obvious. Yeah, see, it's still not stabilized. Alright, I'm going to bring up the HUD so I can see. Okay, yes. So that is indeed doing what I want it to do. That's too much speed. I don't need that much. Okay, we have a weather change, so that's going to, that's been updated. So that's going to change some things here. That's okay. Looking for a cruise speed between 90 and 100 knots. And something I should probably do. There we go. I'm just going to click the autopilot on and off. What this is going to do is it's going to do some kind of a trim thing to kind of stabilize things a bit more. I do want to trim the nose down just a bit, not that much. It's for my left-right movement. Okay, now they're stabilized a bit better. Do this, duplicate this tab. Kind of figured that would happen. I need a better way to triangulate this. So now we're trying to multitask here. Sure, do that. So that's 10 miles at 353. Yarley VOR. Is 108.2. Let's pop that in. And 353. So CDI is indicating I am east of the course. So I actually passed this waypoint. I need to switch to the next waypoint. That's what I thought. Alright. So we're going to do that. So I probably entered the class Bravo. So what we're going to do is we're going to start turning north now. And then get myself set up to fly direct. Roughly there. And then about here, 039, or no, I went. Great, I can't seem to undo closing that tab. I'm about to reach my cruise altitude. That might work. Find out in a moment. Please let me delete the waypoint. Okay, 0390. Okay, so we actually didn't do too bad. Okay. Because I was also watching the distance, and I saw that that seemed a bit high. It seemed like it was getting close. I should lean this out a bit. There we go. And then throttle down a bit more. We have the DME showing my distance from that VOR, that next radio station. And we can see I'm actually descending, and I don't want that. That's just because I'm turning. And I did not apply any back pressure. I can restabilize that. And it's also showing my ground speed here. which is convenient. But it's measuring my speed in a straight line. So that's something to take into consideration. So you kind of, and my distance as well. So, do a bit of trig or whatever. You don't really need to do any trig. Just say, okay, well, what's my height in miles then? So 7,000 feet, it's going to be between 1 and 2 miles. So when it shows my distance is less than 2 miles, I'm going to assume that I'm pretty much almost directly over the top of the waypoint. Make some very fine adjustments here to try and get everything stabilized. I'm going to toggle the autopilot on and off one more time. And that should hold me fairly level. Okay, so we're 30 miles away, and we're actually slightly north of the course, or northwest of my desired course, though. I'm just going to correct. Okay, we have a viewer in chat. Alright, so now we're back into SkyVector, taking a look at the next leg of the route. If we look at the nav log, after the Sparta VOR, there's all these fixes, and then another VOR. But if you look here, it's generally, it's at a pretty direct route, isn't it? 73, 74. So we can just go. We can't. Okay. This is fine. So from Sparta to Carmel. Or Carmel, however you prefer to say that. Oh no, I'm way off course. Alright. My autopilot toggle trick, I mistimed it. See, the problem is the engine produces different levels of torque, and that causes the airplane to roll. So the engine is twisting the whole plane around it a little bit. So it's difficult when I can't see what the plane is doing to make sure bad things don't happen. So let me get back on course here. So I'm like northeast of or northwest of the course. I'm just going to fly an eastbound direction here. And now that I'm stabilized, I'm gonna the autopilot on, put it in roll mode, 0 vertical speed. It's just gonna hold the wings level. And now I can do my my navigation. Okay, so I need to tune the radio 116.6. the standby frequency. Go. Okay. And we're not going to worry about the direction because I still need that for the station I'm going to now. Okay. Autopilot off. I'm going to begin a left turn. Let's get back on course. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now it's mostly just kind of waiting. So, this is the sort of area we're in right now. We're going to fly over the Hudson River. Let's see if I can see it from outside. We didn't pass it already, did we? Okay. I thought that we did. Well, no, because this is the next leg of the route, so that's not where we're at. We are over here in this general area somewhere. And 23 miles away from the Sparta VOR. So I'm just going to make a minor course correction here. There we go. So what I'm going to do with SkyVector is I'm just going to watch, keep it set up on the next leg of the flight. So we can see, even though I'm flying a heading that's pretty much spot on with the direction I want to fly on the course, I'm drifting it towards the east. So the wind is actually blowing me off course a little bit, so I need to correct for that. And that's actually one of the things in the nav log here. It's showing a course correction angle, wind correction angle. Yeah. About 9 degrees. Huh. start a gentle turn, get back on course. The red part here, the heading bud, I'm not actually following that. That was just like that was only lined up with the runway heading. Let's see, there's a little lake over here. Look back at SkyVector. Probably right about here. But we're a little bit off course, so we're like here-ish, I guess. You changed. Oh, wait a minute. No, we're actually doing pretty well. Okay. There's a couple different bodies of water. That one looks a bit jank. The scenery is a little bit patchworky in this area, but it's still good enough that I can tell what's what. It's actually more likely I'm here. Yeah, I'm in this area because looking at the distance, 13.2 miles. It just occurred to me I didn't set any title for my stream. I have no idea what that's going to look like. Oh, okay. I can just edit that later for the VOD. Going to make another minor course correction. Pretty much the whole flight is going to be making course corrections at this point. But I'll be correcting more frequently as I get closer to the waypoint, or in this case to the VOR that I'm flying to. So if we look at SkyVector, you can see here we have, for example, a VOR, and there's all these lines, right? They come out, you know, certain angles. So for all 360 degrees. Each of those, they're radials, and obviously, and then my course deflection indicator here, or course deviation indicator here, is showing me how much I'm deviating from that course, from that radial that I have selected. And naturally, as you get closer to it, that needle's going to swing further if you're off course. It's going to be easier to get off course by more when you're closer to it. Yeah. It's difficult to explain without some kind of visual aid, a better visual aid. I don't really have time to duel in MS Paint right now. So I just kind of relax, wait a minute. Just 5 miles to go. Check up on chat, if there is any chat. No. So again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. And when I do not have my hands full, I will be checking the chat, such as right now, to answer any questions or whatever. Okay, so now we see the speed drop is dropping pretty much regardless of which direction I turn, and distance is getting close to 2 miles. It's starting to drop down to 2 miles. There we go. So I'm almost directly over this VOR. You can also see I'm slightly gaining altitude, and my joystick isn't really sensitive enough to properly adjust the level of thrust to stabilize that nicely, so I'm going to use the mixture instead. But first, we've got to switch waypoints. So I'm looking for 084. To initiate a U-turn here, and then I'm going to check the nav lock, the wind correction angle. So now wind correction angle is only 3 degrees. So, oh, I'm getting a little bit of lag. Hang on. It's updating the weather, and sometimes it does it kind of suddenly and with a few frame drops. So give me a second here. Okay. So we just got to get that altitude taken care of. I'm about 100 feet higher than where I want to be. So I just need to correct that. Let's see, I maybe only dropped by about 50 RPMs, if that. Somewhere between 50 and 100, and I'm getting a near disable descent. And it's already stabilizing a little bit earlier than what I want. Let's drop the throttle just a little bit more. And make sure I am actually still headed on course. Taking a gentle left turn. You can see as I'm turning more on course, my speed reading is increasing as well. But that'll also show a faster speed if I'm heading directly towards the VOR, even if I'm not on course. So just a couple things to keep in mind. A little bit more thrust. All these little course corrections, it's messing with my altitude. And then also, if I'm climbing and my airspeed is dropping, then the ground speed will also drop a little bit. And we could just toggle the autopilot on. So, whoa, we've hit turbulence. Okay, that was a little exciting. Okay, cool. Hit turbulence and then ended up in a cloud. Fine. Okay, so a little left-right stabilization I tried didn't seem to work now because the turbulence kind of interfered. Okay. I'm going to try and get things settled again. Okay. So now, back to SkyVector. So now we are flying up from here to here. So, see what looks like a little body of water there. Let's change camera. No, that could be a little lake. That could just be a low render detail. Ah, directly below me. So, give me a second. There it is. I think. Maybe that might be the Hudson River. Not sure. 0.9 miles away. No, it's not. Never mind. Yeah, because that distance. Yeah, no, it can't be. All right, never mind. No, that's this here. Okay. Going to lean the fuel mixture out a little bit because I can more precisely control my level of thrust that way. It's certainly not the correct way to do this, but there's just some things that would be easier in terms of controlling the airplane in real life than in the sim. There's a reason airplanes aren't flown entirely with keyboards. So, yeah. There we go. I believe that up ahead is our next landmark, the Hudson River. I messed with my camera and now the audio is permanently changed. So there it is. See that all the way over there. Right here. And I seem to be in a gentle right turn that I don't actually want to be in, so I'm going to fix that before I end up way off course. Okay, a little bit of a frame hang there. You may be wondering, where's air traffic control? What's going on? And, well, I haven't done any flight simming in a while, so I'm really rusty on a lot of stuff. So, well, I also haven't bothered getting a VATSIM client or looking into seeing if there is a active VATSIM client for FlightGear, and other flight sims seem to take up a lot of storage space that I don't really have. So not gonna have that for this flight. Okay, let's see. Right here, things don't change until we get here. So our current speed is going to be about 9 minutes. Okay, course correction. So it's very subtle, but I'm usually in a little bit of a turn, and if I stop paying attention for just a moment, or a minute, then all of a sudden, hey, I'm like 30 degrees off my intended course. I need to fix it. But I should still be fine to every so often check to see if there's any chat to respond to. So I'm just trying to see if I can identify my position on the map. On the sectional chart, I should say. It looks like I'm near Yorktown Heights. We can see here, like, if I remember how to read this correctly, there's like power lines or something like that. And of course I'm gonna bump the mic again. And we can see we got the bridge, and we got looking like large power lines or something like that in that area over there. And I seem to have I've been blown off course a little bit. So let's fix that. So as I was saying before, as I get closer, that I'll be getting it'll be more difficult to stay as precisely on course. So the CI needle will be more sensitive. There you go. That's what I was looking for. More sensitive as I get closer to VOR stations. So 115.7, hopefully that is the correct thing. Oh, but I do not switch to the next waypoint, to the next VOR right away. As you can see, I actually need to put a different VOR in here. 110.85. And I need to have it in Nav 2 as well. So I need to triangulate 10.85. $290. And that's not what I wanted to do. Here. There. Okay. And then I want to switch this to 090. Going to fly this heading. Check my radio, 116.6. Okay, so now I'm going from station, almost, not quite. So I'm going to wait for that to stabilize. I'm going to turn to the heading I went preemptively. I've overshot it trying to chase the needle. And I should not be chasing the needle. Okay. So I'm on 116.6. This guy here. This is from seal. For 23.9 miles, or for both of these lines, these needles to be straight. And that'll be when I reach this point here, which I believe, yeah, is seal. So we can see there's a name seal fixed there. As long as I'm on course, I will fly through this fix here, which has a name somewhere. Fazul, okay. So through Fazul, the seal, and then we change bearing to get to Carl D. Okay, so let me course correct here, so that when we do reach that waypoint where I will need to change bearing, I can actually see that I'm there. Excuse me, I should be just about there. Okay. Level wings. I might need to mess with that a little bit more. But I need to now figure out if I'm going to figure out when I'm at Carl D. So that's going to be off of another intersection. So the next VOR here. It says frequency 110. I want to make sure that's Warwick? Providence, okay. So that should be this guy here. Yep. Okay. Norwich. Yeah, there it is. Alright. Course correction again. Now I can see here I have... I'm using my finger, that's stupid. Okay, the needle's deflecting toward the right, and this needle's deflecting toward the left. So we have some deviation in what they're doing, which makes things a lot easier to read. So even if I am slightly off course, those two will converge if I'm between the radials. Ideally, I still want to be on my intended course, and I'm slightly north of that course. I need to try to fix that. But anyway, that should be fairly close for now, and I can check on that again. So I need to get Norwich in standby on nav 1, so that's 110 even. And then for Carl D, we have New London. That's a comm frequency. That's weather. There it is, 110.85. I think I already have it right. Yes. Okay, good. But that'd be the same radio. I don't. 290. Yes. Okay, so good. That'll be the same radio, which is convenient. And so instead of flying off of this instrument, I can fly on this one, which you normally wouldn't do, but it means I can go ahead and just, because I already have this one tuned into the one I'm going to fly on. Once I reach the waypoint, I can just turn to that course. So, I am flying to, it's called Taunton Airport. Sorry, I'm a little late responding to chat. So anyway, right now we are, where are we? We are somewhere in this area. I took off from Doylestown back over here. So this airport is up in Massachusetts, not too far off from Boston, which is right up here. Okay, let's see where we're... Got, can't really see the sunset behind us. There's a little airfield right there. It's a little gravel strip or grass strip or dirt strip or whatever that is. That's cool. Switch camera here. So there we go. So about halfway, looking at the DME, the distance measuring equipment, halfway to Carl D. Or no, halfway to Seal, never mind. After Seal, then I turn and go to Carl D. So I'm probably about here. So I actually am turning off course a little bit. Fix that. And I'm slightly climbing, or perhaps the that's a weather update. I'm going to check weather. I'm just going to use the menus to do that. Actually even higher than what I thought. Okay. Again, I'm going to use fuel mixture instead of throttle to do this. And it's not quite the correct way, but it's more precise in what I can manage with my joystick. Okay, you know what? I'd be better off using my joystick for that much of a difference. Okay. It's looking better. So you can see this needle is still deflected, indicating that I am to the, which way does it turn? South? Yeah, south of this radial. Turning. I don't want to be turning. I just noticed the shadows moving across the panel, and that's actually a feature that fairly new. At least it's new compared to back when I used to use this sim like 10 years or so ago. I don't know. It's just really cool feature to have. It's just a graphical feature, and normally I don't really give much praise to graphical features in the sim because there's a lot of emphasis on systems and physics. You look at Flight Simulator 2020, everything looks really stunning, and but with FlightGear, the main focus has always been on systems and physics. I'm gonna give it just a little throttle, like barely noticeable amount of throttle. A little nudge, try and get my altitude back to where I was. So I was 100 feet higher than what I wanted. Now I'm 100 feet lower than what I wanted. Still not reached a seal yet. I believe I'm about 10 miles out, or 5 or 6 actually. But we'll see. This needle has been closing in towards the center. And if I remember correctly, I believe I can switch this. Yes, I can. Right now I'm out of range for the nav tube. So instead, let's do that. Wow, it's like stuff coming back to me. Oh man, haven't really messed with some of this stuff in so long. I'm drifting north. Don't want to do that. I'm going to, yeah, this is fine. Let's go into the nav log. And so, yeah, 33.9er. 28.5, so I'm close. If we can see these needles, they're both almost center, meaning I'm almost right on the waypoint. Okay, and now I'm at my cruise altitude. Once again, I'm going to just lean the mixture out slightly, and then I'll drop my RPM a little bit. But remember, it's measuring my distance diagonally. So I have some distance above the ground, in addition to that distance away from the VOR station. So it's going to be off by a couple of miles. And here we can see the needles are lined up straight. So I'm now going to switch this one to nav 2. And then as I turn, I want to switch over Norwich VOR. That would be heading 078. Or a course 078. But for now, I'm going to be navigating using this instrument. So ideally, I would be using some back pressure on the yoke to maintain altitude in my turns. But I'm doing such small turns that it's kind of negligible right now. And since I'm maintaining pretty much a constant level of thrust, it'll just even back out. I'll slowly kind of go up and down a little bit, so I just level out back at 7,000 feet again. So I'm 36 miles away from the VOR, but I'm not going to actually reach the VOR. Okay. We'll also notice, is that really just called Deep River? Excuse me. Okay. Okay. Looking to see if there were some visual landmarks I could also use to judge. And I think there's too many rivers too close together. But what from the nav log, right? You can see I'm going to travel 14.1 miles from Seal to Carl D. Arene, it's pretty much almost halfway to Norwich. So yeah, you can see this needle's deflect way over towards the south. This needle has minor deflection because I'm again getting blown off course a little bit, so I'm going to recorrect. And I'll generally be able to tell when I'm on course again when they intersect. Having the distance from one of the VORs is a nice way to, or even from both of them really, is a nice way to have a bit of redundancy in that check. But for now, I think this should be sufficient. Yeah, I need to turn north just a little bit more. You can see how it's flashing here. So my reception on the distance measuring equipment isn't as strong as on the overall direction or course deflection indication. Let's see what the nav log says about wind correction angle. Wind correction angle from sea level to Pearl D. Only 2 degrees. So it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that noticeable. Something else I need to check. Let's make sure. So this airport elevation just barely above 0. Okay, good. So I'm cruising at 7,000 feet to my top of descent. It's going to be 21 miles from the airport. I really should have planned this before taking off. So, like, right around when I reach the Providence VOR is when I'll begin my descent. We have some time, though. And we can see the CDI needle is now creeping its way over. It's way off to the edge. Now it's about halfway over. And I'm about back on course on Nav 2 here, so I'm going to turn back into that. 110, 110. Double check that. Yeah, that's weird. It doesn't look like. Looks like it's. Oh well. Okay, now we're good. And hey, we indeed have what looks like a deep river ahead of us. I can't believe that's actually called Deep River. Deep River, right there. Yep. Or is this Connecticut River? I used to know all the different symbols on the sectional chart, and I'm kind of relearning them as I go a little bit here and there. And do this. Here we go. And if you look out to your right, you'll see off in the distance all the sadness of everyone stuck in traffic at I-95. And then some ships at sea. Okay, and hey, it's time to switch to our Nav 1 radio. Switch back to that course. So now we're going to turn back up towards the north a little bit. There we go. So we just hit this spot here, Carl D. Yep, there we go. So now we are approaching the there's a fix in the route in between these points, but I don't see where it is. But we're going towards the Norwich VOR, yeah, that one. Okay. So 20 miles out. I need to plan the next leg of the route, or get that all set up. So, the next thing will then be to continue on to the Providence VOR. There's so much information here. Hang on. Okay. 115.6. I feel like every so often this is zooming out on me or something. There we go. Now, I've done this flight once before. I will say that the airport is very small. It's kind of challenging trying to land at it. And on AirNav, there is no chart for it, but we can see a photo of it. So it's not like, like after I do land, there's not much concern for navigating on the taxiways to find a parking area. You can see that I've been drifting in a bit of a left turn. Work on getting myself back at the intended altitude here. That's too much goodness. The wind correction angle is calculated for me in Navlog. Yeah, all of these are only about 3 or 4 degrees. Gonna start getting some lights on in here. I can see it, my instrument's fine, but I'm sure it's a bit funky looking on YouTube with compression probably. So we're almost there. Miles out from Norwich. Okay, it's still going to be a little bit of a while, but probably be on the ground in about half an hour. Yeah, I had it zoomed out a little bit, that's why. Okay. I do like it zoomed out just a little bit. Yes, so FlightGear actually does indeed match the time and day of reality. And let me see here. Yeah, we can see if I get the camera position correctly. Let me just use the mouse. There's a little AI controlled plane over there off in the distance. You can see the sunset over here. And, oh, I'm actually moving the camera. That's not what I wanted. Okay, just wanted to change there. There you can see its lights. So yeah, and it's not quite dark enough yet, but FlightGear even gets the correct positioning of all the stars and the moon as well. So if you wanted to navigate like an old-timey sailor for some reason, you actually could navigate by the stars in this simulation. No, this is FlightGear. This is not Microsoft Flight Simulator, so not the Steam version. There is no Steam version of FlightGear. I tried Flight Simulator 2020, and it needed this update that was... Oh, that was rather, I think that's the sunset, but that was a rather abrupt change in lighting. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Oh, we need to switch to our next waypoint. And I've somehow ended up in a rather steep turn. That was... Now I'm manhandling the plane. Okay, here we go. Let me fix this a minute, and then I'll get back to whatever that train of thought was in a moment. Okay. So I tried FS 2020, and it needed this update that was like 128 gigs in size, and I was like... So what I did was I deleted all the videos I had on my hard drive that I had planned to upload, but I realized I was never actually going to upload. And when it got to about maybe 5% completion, I was like, you know what? This is pointless. Because if I want to be able to make videos, then I'm not going to have any storage left over after the update. So, yeah. Until I get myself an external drive, I am going to be sticking with FlightGear. which right now it has all I really want at the moment. Okay. Time to prepare for next flight. Okay, so I am flying to the final waypoint, which is the Providence VOR. After that, I'm going to fly out at a heading of 078. What I need to do is get my second nav radio configured so I can triangulate on the airport's location. So the nearest radio nav aid is the Providence VOR. The next nearest is Boston. It's 29 miles away. And that frequency here, 112.7. I see. Every time I switch windows, so I switch from FlightGear into Chrome, for some reason the camera zooms out. That probably looks kind of strange looking on your end. And I'm a little off course here. I still have 24 miles to go, so it's not a huge deal. I'm going to try and do some multitasking here. 112.7. Flying the plane and dialing the radio at the same time. Okay, there we go. I need a little bit more of a right turn. I'm north of my course. And then that is the 19 or 8 radial. So I need to subtract 180. Where am I? There. That's a plane right there. And I believe that is also a plane. I think. Or is that a star? It might be a star, actually. Yeah, I don't see any flashing lights. Cool. So, yeah, as I was mentioning earlier, no, that might actually be another plane, as low as that is. Okay. Yeah. It's probably not late enough into the evening yet. So for flying at night, I would actually need the instrument rating for this. So, it's a good thing I'm an absolute nerd when it comes to aviation, and I still remember all this stuff about how to use the navigation instruments. Because in theory, yes, I could have plotted this all out using physical landmarks and stuff. Got different bodies of water to look at, got different airports that you'll fly by. But it's so much easier when you just have some kind of instrumentation to give you a very precise indication of where you are, or not necessarily where you are, but well, where you are relative to some other location. Yeah. some minor course corrections here. Wait, really? So Discord actually recognizes FlightGear. That's actually really cool. Or does it not recognize FlightGear? Did it say I was using something else? I would say Radio Nav isn't that extreme. It's just an older form of navigation than GPS. So in a newer model of this particular airplane, or well, actually you can retrofit glass cockpit displays and Garmin GPS units into the panel. When I flew in real life a few months back, there was a let me see here, a little spot right here where the instructor was sitting, and right in this area there was a GPS display, and that was pretty neat. You can kind of modify the instruments that you have in your panel, but that stuff's kind of expensive, so you wouldn't normally want to go for that right away. So Radio Nav, it's definitely more complicated than using GPS because you don't have a moving map. You just have this right here, and if you're lucky enough to have two of them, you can use them in combination to triangulate other points to be able to give yourself a better idea of where you are when you're looking at a sectional chart. Okay, I'm just checking to see if there's anything else I need to be aware of. What I'm going to do is, here we go. I'm going to check the weather now. 014, so the pressure has dropped. My altitude is still increasing a bit. I am going to nudge my throttle closed a little bit. I'm not going to... Oh crap, I'm way off course. I'm not going to be too concerned about being exactly on at 7,000 feet at this time, because right here is my next waypoint. That's not the airport I'm landing at. I'm landing at a much smaller airport. And how I know that's my next waypoint is because, well, I'm actually not quite certain, but I know I'm 10 miles away, and that I should be able to see at least 10 miles from here, so that could be it. But also, we see here that's a significantly sized airport, Warwick. So, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put that airport slightly to the right of my nose if I can. I'm so close at this time that it's like not a huge deal. And then once I am over top of the airport, things are going to change. So I'm going to wait before I change this, before I change the course setting. And I'm going to begin my descent, I think, when I am about 2 miles out from the VOR, so before I reach it. Since I do have a little bit of extra altitude, but also I'm kind of going to need to sort of dive and drive a bit, as they say. So I'm going to descend to about 1,000 feet, and then I'm going to circle above the airfield before I land. Let me do a refresh here to get weather info. So METAR is showing winds calm, altimeter 3015. It actually shows a couple runways, but one of them is gravel, so we're not going to use that. I could use that with this plane, but I prefer to have a longer one. Since winds are calm, I might as well use runway 12. Of course, I've ended up in a turn again. I didn't want to be in a turn. Great. Yeah, so I'm like almost directly above this thing. All right, here we go. So 078. I'm going to continue flying 090, and I'll eventually land on that radial. Get carb heat and power down. I want a descent rate of about 600 feet per minute. A minute to stabilize. Now I need to turn back heading north again, or northeast anyway. I'm struggling here. Give me a minute. So I'm trying to manage my descent rate, and so vertical and horizontal navigation all at the same time. Okay, part of that is I'm still heading toward 2. That's at 2 flag, and it just flipped to from. So there we go. So what I can do is I can just fly the heading roughly that I want. And so this is the part where flying at night get a little bit difficult. I'm actually going to reduce the lighting on my instruments so that when I need to see outside, I can see outside a little bit clearer. So I'm gonna have my hands full for a little while. So I'm probably not really going to be able to respond to chat until after I'm on the ground at this point, because I also need to search for the airport. There is no navigation aid on the airport itself. There is no instrument landing system or any kind of instrument to guide me onto the runway at this airport. This is a very small airport, so it's not well equipped, and it's probably, considering it's doesn't have any attendance after 5 p.m., probably not really meant for anyone to be operating in or out of this airport at night. But I'm in a sim, so I'm gonna do it anyway. It does have lights, so I'll be able to see it. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have going for me. Oh, I did want to readjust my altimeter, by the way. 3015 inches mercury. There we go. Alright, so we are now below 5,000 feet, so we're going to go mixture rich. And then restabilize the descent rate. Okay, airplane is still kind of drifting around on me a little bit. I need a little bit more descent rate. So we can't see the airport yet. We know it's about 20 miles out from Providence. 21 miles. I am now 5.5 miles out. It's gonna be a little while before I see anything that very obviously looks like a small airport. I'm going to check chat briefly before I land. Well, it's not really that there would be any advantage or disadvantage to having the GPS in front of the co-pilot. This plane is really cramped. So imagine you're sitting in a sports car and you have, imagine the space you have between yourself and the passenger sitting next to you. Now, imagine there is no center console, and your passenger's knee is up against your knee. That's how cramped this plane is. So, it's pretty much like that. So, whatever is in front of the co-pilot is well within your view. And likewise, this plane, I think that's the airport off in the distance right here. So naturally, as a sort of a benefit of that, the co-pilot can reach across in front, or in this case, in a training situation, the instructor can reach across in front of the student pilot to work the lights down here and, you know, shutting the, starting the engine and shutting down the engine and that sort of deal. So I'm going to give this a little bit more throttle and reduce my descent rate a little bit, because I think I see the airport, and I'm going to start moving over to line to give myself a little bit of space so I can set up an approach to the runway. Excuse me. Okay, so yeah, I can definitely see that's definitely a runway right in the distance here, and that's where I'm going to land. That's definitely about 10 miles out. So now I can pretty much, since there's good visibility, I can pretty much just go back to visual flight rules and adjust my descent based on where I see the airport in relation to how high it is above the nose of my airplane. You know, how far up the windscreen it is. Got my compass kind of in the way, so I'm just gonna move over a bit more. So I'm positioning myself west of the airport, so I can just go straight into that runway 12. So I'm at 2,200 feet, so I need to be, about 5.5 miles out. So now that I'm flying directly to the airport, my distance measuring equipment is not really being useful to me, so in judging my distance from the airport. So I 5.5 miles out comes from, in general, when you are approaching the runway, you descend at a 3-degree descent profile. So that works out to a descent of 400 feet for every mile. So yeah, I need to start getting down. And I'm going to start reducing my speed I'll start lowering flaps. Want to be stabilized at 65 knots. That's looking good. And then I need to descend a lot more, actually. More descent rates. So I came in a little bit higher than planned, but I think I might still be able to do this. I need to drop my speed a little bit more. Oh, get some lights on in here. Some exterior lighting going. Speed's a little bit lower than ideal. Okay, that's better. That's better. That's... I'm floating. I don't want to be floating. Need more power. Right. Still a little high. And here we are. Now, if I remember correctly, there should be a place where I can pull off the taxiway coming up, and I think I see it up ahead. This is taxi or landing light. I don't need landing lights anymore. Oh yeah, right here. Okay. And then there's like a sort of a parking area right here, conveniently. So, just gonna spin it around right here. Parking brake engaged. Alright. Let's see. Avionics off. All the lights. Sprint lighting. Turn that off. All right. And that's going to conclude our flight. So, hope you guys enjoyed. I had a lot of fun. Let me check the chat real quick before I wrap up. Oh, yes. The crampedness. Let me do this flashlight. So, if we look down here, right, there's my seat. There is the other seat. There's only enough room for a fire extinguisher to just barely fit between the seats. So yes, compared to a sports car, the interior is like a Reliant Robin or a Lancia Stratos or something like that. Yeah. Red flashlights are nice to have when you're flying at night because that way you still maintain your better night vision. All right, so that's going to be it. So